February 10th, 1941, Dearborn, Michigan. The morning shift bell at Ford's Rouge plant echoes through the steel rafters like a call to arms. The air smells of oil, hot metal, and the faint tang of winter snow sneaking in through the freight doors. Henry Ford stands at the edge of the observation deck, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on a blueprint sprawled across the table. On it, not a car, but the unmistakable outline of a four-engine bomber, the consolidated B-24 Liberator. Outside, sparks fly from the welding bays, men shout over the grind of machinery, and conveyor belts rumble with mechanical rhythm. America hasn't entered the war yet, but Ford's mind is already there, in the skies over Europe, in the factories of Detroit, and in the idea that machines could fight wars as much as men. Henry Ford is 77 years old, but still brimming with ambition and stubbornness. He doesn't like aircraft. He never has. They're dangerous toys, he once said. But his son, Edsel Ford, and a new generation of engineers are pushing him towards something bigger, to apply the power of the automobile assembly line to aviation, to mass-produce bombers the way they had once mass-produced Model Ts. It's an absurd idea. Aircraft are delicate, handmade machines, each one requiring skilled labor and careful calibration. But the world is changing fast. Across the Atlantic, Britain is burning. The Luftwaffe pounds London nightly, and whispers from Washington speak of the U.S. gearing for total war. If America joins, the skies will need an armada. That's when the Army Air Forces come calling. General Henry Hap Arnold wants a production miracle, and he knows only one man in America who might pull it off. Mr. Ford, an Army procurement officer, says during a tense meeting in Dearborn, "We need Liberators, thousands of them. Fast. The Germans are outproducing Britain 5-1. We can't win if we can't fly." Henry Ford studies the officer in silence. He's not fond of government men. But this is industry's calling. "Finally," he says, "then we'll build you a plant that makes them like Ford's." The officer blinks. "You mean on an assembly line?" Ford nods. Every 60 minutes, a new bomber rolls out the door. The man laughs, at first. Then he sees Ford isn't joking. By summer 1941, surveyors and bulldozers descend on 975 acres of farmland west of Detroit. The site will become Willow Run, named after the creek that cuts through its edge. It will be the largest factory on Earth, a single mile of concrete and glass stretching across Michigan soil like a sleeping battleship. From the air, it looks almost mythic, a Y-shaped structure with hangars for wings. At its heart, a mile-long moving assembly line. But on the ground, the dream meets chaos. The scale is overwhelming. No one has ever tried to mass-produce an airplane this complex. The B-24 has over 1 million parts. Each wing must be machined to microscopic tolerances. Fuel lines, hydraulics, electrical wiring, all must be perfect, or the bomber will fall from the sky. Engineers argue. Tooling delays mount. Ford's automotive foremen, used to stamping fenders and bolting engines, stare helplessly at aircraft schematics. "Cars don't fly," one supervisor mutters. But Ford's people don't give up. They adapt, and they industrialize the impossible. Inside the hangars, conveyors snake through endless rows of machinery. Rivet guns chatter like machine gun fire. Cranes swing overhead, carrying half-built fuselages the size of locomotives. The workers, men and women, veterans of the car lines, farmers, and housewives, learn fast. Women, especially, step into roles never before open to them. Dressed in slacks and kerchiefs, they drill, weld, and rivet side by side with men. Rosie the Riveter becomes more than propaganda. She becomes Willow Run itself. By late 1942, the first completed Liberator, serial number 42-1000, rolls out of the line. Mechanics wipe oil from their hands as flashbulbs pop. It's not perfect, not yet, but it flies. In the control tower, Edsel Ford watches as the bomber lifts into the gray Michigan sky. He smiles faintly. "If we can do this," he says to an aide, "we can outbuild Hitler." The aide nods, eyes fixed on the rising plane. "Sir," he replies, "we might already be doing it." But Ford's victory comes at a cost. As the plant expands, tensions mount between father and son, between tradition and progress, between peace and the machinery of war. Henry Ford's pacifist ideals clash with the reality of his creation. a factory built to mass-produce destruction. Still, the line keeps moving. The tempo quickens. The factory doesn't sleep. March 1943, Willow Run, Michigan. The snow outside has turned to gray slush, but inside the world's largest factory, the air is tropical. The heat from furnaces and compressors makes the space shimmer. The noise is deafening, a constant metallic roar punctuated by the hiss of welding torches and the staccato of rivet guns. On the main floor, a B-24 fuselage crawls along the line like a mechanical beast being born in slow motion. Overhead, cranes glide between catwalks, hoisting engines the size of truck blocks. 1,000 workers swarm across the skeleton of the aircraft, attaching wings, bolting landing gear, stringing hydraulic cables, and fitting plexiglass nose turrets polished to a crystal sheen. The rhythm is hypnotic. This is industrial warfare at its purest: speed, precision, and relentless order. 63 minutes. A foreman shouts over the din, tapping his clipboard. That's the target. One bomber every 63 minutes. The workers nod, sweat beading on their foreheads. They know the stakes. Each finished Liberator means 10 men can fly over Europe and maybe come home alive. By this point, the Ford Motor Company has turned aviation into choreography. Along the mile-long line, each worker has exactly 57 seconds to complete their task before the fuselage inches forward. Every rivet, bolt, and seal is timed. Each subassembly, wings, engines, fuselage sections, converges with clockwork precision. They've even built the world's first moving aircraft assembly line, a conveyor system so vast that it takes bicycles just to travel between stations. At the end of the line, sunlight floods through a massive hangar door. Beyond it lies a concrete runway carved into what was once farmland. There, the newest B-24 Liberator, tail number 42 to 4104, gleams under the Michigan sun, its olive drab skin freshly painted, its 4 Pratt and Whitney engines ticking like heartbeats waiting to roar. Test pilot Tom Abernathy climbs into the cockpit, his flight jacket creaking as he straps in. He glances back through the glass at the workers waving from the hangar, the welders, the riveters, the inspectors who spent hours bringing this machine to life. Willow Run 1 ready for test flight, he says into his radio. Moments later, the Liberator surges forward, propellers blurring into silver discs. It lifts gracefully off the runway, climbing over the endless factory roof, the same roof that built it. Down below, the workers watch it shrink into the horizon, their faces streaked with oil and pride. By late 1943, Willow Run is producing more bombers than the entire Japanese aircraft industry. The numbers are staggering: 14,000, then 20,000, and finally over 40,000 men and women working in 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Entire towns spring up around the plant to house the influx. Ipsitucky, they call it. Ypsilanti mixed with Kentucky, because so many rural Southerners have come north to join the war effort. Inside the cafeteria, signs read. Every minute counts. A bomber an hour means victory sooner. The plant runs on discipline and caffeine. Coffee urns bubble beside time clocks. Workers sleep in dormitories built right on factory grounds. In the women's locker room, a handwritten note on the wall reads, "My brother flies one. I build it right." It's not just production, it's purpose. But perfection comes slowly. In the early months, many Willow Run bombers roll off the line incomplete, missing parts that must be added by hand later. The Air Corps inspectors are merciless. These aren't Fords. One warns, you can't just pull them over and fix them on the roadside. Edsel Ford, exhausted and pale from overwork and illness, refuses to let the project fail. He visits the plant daily, quietly encouraging the crews, reorganizing logistics, and even bringing in engineers from Consolidated Aircraft to refine the process. His devotion borders on obsession. To him, Willow Run isn't just a factory, it's redemption. A way for Ford Motor Company to serve a higher cause than profit. By mid-1944, his vision bears fruit. The line runs with symphonic precision. A new B-24, fully equipped, tested, and ready for combat, emerges from the far end every 63 minutes. The first time they hit that mark, the entire plant stops. Workers cheer, hats fly into the air, and a banner unfurls from the rafters. Bomber 1 per hour, for freedom. From the observation deck, a frail Edsel Ford smiles faintly. They said it couldn't be done, he murmurs. But not far away, his father, Henry Ford, watches in silence. His pacifist heart is uneasy. To him, every gleaming aircraft on that line is both a triumph and a tragedy, a machine designed to bring death. Still, the war demands it. The line must move. The workers return to their stations. The next fuselage begins its slow, inevitable journey down the mile-long track. The clock resets, 63 minutes. And somewhere across the Atlantic, another crew waits for a bomber that will carry them through fire and flak. July 1944, a humid dawn at Willow Run. The factory is already alive before sunrise, its smokestacks cutting through the mist like the chimneys of a vast steel city. Train cars line the siding outside, each filled with crates of aluminum, engines, and machine guns destined for the assembly lines. Inside, the air is electric. Every tool clatter, every pneumatic hiss feels synchronized, 1,000 beats of a single industrial heart. Overhead, banners hang between steel trusses. They can't fight without US, and production wins wars. The workers know these slogans by heart. They recite them in the rhythm of their work. They are the anonymous army, the ones who never see the front but feed it every hour. At station 420, a riveter named Mabel McIntyre adjusts her goggles and presses her drill into the wing of a Liberator. The whine of the bit merges with the hum of the line. She's been here 12 hours, her hands raw beneath her gloves, her lunch untouched. 63 minutes, she mutters under her breath. Let's make it count. Mac's husband is flying B-24s over Italy. She doesn't know where exactly. Censorship keeps his letters vague, but she knows the sound of a Pratt & Whitney engine like a heartbeat. She imagines him up there in one of these birds, trusting every bolt she drives. At Willow Run, that connection isn't abstract. It's sacred. Down the line, inspectors crawl through the finished bombers, flashlights cutting through the dark interiors. Check the hydraulic lines, one calls out. Tail gun wiring, another shouts. Every detail matters. A loose wire here could mean 10 men lost over Ploesti. On the final floor, technicians load .50 caliber Brownings into their turrets. The factory smells of hot steel and solvent, but also of purpose, the strange perfume of total war. And then, at exactly 9 a.m., the horn sounds. A completed B-24 Liberator, serial number 44 to 40,216, rolls through the giant hangar doors into daylight. A marching band plays the Star-Spangled Banner. Newsreel cameras whirl. Executives, officers, and tired workers stand shoulder to shoulder, watching the bomber taxi out like a newborn titan. On its nose, painted in red block letters, the spirit of Willow Run. Half a world away, in England, these bombers will form the backbone of the 8th Air Force. They'll fly missions over Bremen, Schweinfurt, and Berlin, long, cold hauls through flak and fighter swarms. Crews will call them flying boxcars, curse their heavy controls, and love their rugged endurance. Each one carries a piece of Michigan within it, stamped plates reading Ford Motor Company, Willow Run, USA. From Detroit's auto lines to the European skies, the arsenal of democracy now has wings. But for all its triumph, Willow Run is also a human cost ledger. Turnover is brutal. The pace breaks people. By the end of 44, more than half of the early workers have quit or been replaced. Shifts blur into each other. Exhaustion becomes a badge of honor. Edsel Ford, weakened by ulcers and stress, passes away that May. His death casts a long shadow across the factory floor. When word spreads through the plant, production stops for 63 silent minutes. Then, as if by instinct, the line restarts. One final tribute to the man who made it move. By early 1945, the Willow Run miracle has reached its zenith. 1 bomber per hour, 24 per day, 700 per month. Ford's dream has become reality, an industrial weapon as formidable as any army. But even miracles have an expiration date. When victory comes that summer, the demand for bombers evaporates overnight. The line slows, then stops. For the first time in years, silence fills the hangar. The echoes of the rivet guns fade into memory. Outside, the war-weary workers gather to watch the final Liberator take off. It rises into the calm Michigan sky, one last salute to the millions of hands that built the arsenal of democracy. Decades later, historians will call Willow Run a wonder of modern engineering. But to those who were there, it wasn't wonder, it was work. Sweat, noise, and resolve forged into steel. A mile-long factory that built a bomber every 63 minutes. A place where machines met morality. Where America proved that victory could be manufactured. And where, for a fleeting moment, a factory became an army, and its weapons, wings.